Hello YouTube, this is Dark Emissary 617, and to start off, the fact that Imaginators is essentially over, and the fact that I have collected every single Skylander Sensei, I am going to be doing a series of episodes where I talk about the top Sensei of each battle class. So I'm starting off with, unfortunately, arguably my least favorite class, the Knight class. So the few reasons I'm going to get into why I don't like the Knight class as much as the others I'm going to say is, first of all, I've never been into the whole swords thing. Swords are not my favorite type of weapon in the world. They're just kind of cliche, a bit redundant, no hard feelings to anyone who likes swords, but in my honest opinion, they're just kind of redundant. Now, another reason I don't particularly like the Knight class is that you see these figures before you here? I, do not own any of these knights. These are all my brothers. So, this is the only battle class I don't own a single one of these knights. Or in this case, any of the knights, period. So I don't own anyone in this battle class because of it. But enough about that. For now, I will at least just go over the top of each class, so I'll talk about which is my favorite. See, even though I don't own these characters, I can still play as them at any time, because my brother lets me play with his Skylanders. So to start off with, my least favorite knight pretty much is Ambush. Now, don't get me wrong, Ambush was actually a Skylander I originally kinda wish I wanted, but then Boom Bloom came out. Because, see, my brother and I have a special system where every game of every year, we would split up the Skylanders based on elements, even if it meant we were missing a certain class. In this case, I'm missing Knight. Later on, you're going to see that my brother was missing out on a whole chunk of elements, or battle classes, I mean, because of this. As for why Ambush is my least favorite of the Knight class, I just feel like his attacks are kind of plain, you know, swinging the sword, using bamboo, which as a weapon, which I actually like that attack because it reminds me of one of my favorite Spyro's Adventure characters, Zook. And he has a cool dash attack, but other than that, his design is pretty interestingly, but kind of plain, and you know, he has an okay design. I do like the sword he has, though. I just said I'm not into swords, but I do like how that looks, and overall, he's just not my favorite of the three, just because the other two are much cooler. For number 2, the second best one, in my opinion, is Wildstorm, because Wildstorm, for starters, has a very nifty design. He actually reminds me of, because of his face, he reminds me a lot of, Skylander Supercharger's antagonist, Spell Slamzer. And I do admit the sword looks very cool. It has a nice regal knight look to it, and has this nice air motif around it, since he's part of the air element. Sure, he has kind of like this lion motif, and I also admit I'm not a big lion fan, but he's still pretty cool. I like his attacks, and he has he's really strong. I do admit that's one thing I love about this guy. He's not mine, but I will admit he's a very strong Skylander. As for why he's not mine, well, my brother totally loved this guy. His design was so cool to him, he likes him a lot, and I just went with Airstrike, which I'm okay with, because I like Airstrike. As for the final knight, my honest opinion, the best one is probably Astroblast. Astroblast is the best knight in my opinion, just because of, well, let's see. First off, his design is a little dull, but what do you expect? He was the returning villain for the light element from Trap Team, and you know what? I like this guy for the fact that he's actually the most unique of the knights. While many complained at first that he should have been a bazooka because he had like a bazooka gun type thing in the days of Trap Team, the sword is cool because he now has more melee while having ranged attacks, because every time he attacks with his sword, he would swing it around and then beams would come out of the sword. He also has 2 abilities that basically makes him move faster. And overall, I do admit I like purple. It's my second favorite color next to green is my number one. And the purple looks very neat on this guy, especially because when you look here, you swear the ring around his antenna was floating, but it's actually a very translucent plastic, giving the illusion to make you believe it's floating, but it isn't. So it's very cool for that. Overall, the night class, even though it's my least favorite, I don't think any of the classes suck. They're all good in their own way. It's just personally not my favorite. But anyways, that's the first of my episode of my thoughts on each of the battle classes, and I hope you enjoyed my video on this view for the night class. This is Dark Emissary 617, signing out.